Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to my channel. My name is Ogbanje Joseph. Please subscribe to this channel, share, like, as well as drop a comment on the comment section. So today we're looking at types of ideology. Okay, I've actually said that ideology is the science of ideas. It is actually the type, it is an idea that animates into reality. So there are different types of this ideology, okay, that that are there to be studied. The first is personal ideology. Now, what is a personal ideology? A personal ideology, a type of ideology that is peculiar with an individual. Every individual believes in one ideology or another. It could be bad or good, right or wrong. There are individuals that have very wonderful philosophies and principles about life, and they strongly believe that it is such ideology that will take them to their peak in life, and so they adhere to it strictly and religiously. It is good to note that personal ideology informs the behavior of an individual. That is why some people are termed disciplinarian and others are termed liberal. Now, personal ideology, reflects on an individual's performance and achievement. Now, it also reflects on the outlook of a country, because the personal ideology of an individual is at the helm of political leadership. Who is at the helm of political leadership of a country goes a long way in determining whether such a nation is vibrant or not in all ramifications. For example, okay, if you have a charismatic leader at the helm of affairs, such a country is going to be very vibrant. Number two, group ideology. Now, ideology has been defined as a collection of beliefs shared by a group of people. Now, group ideology is the type that is held by a particular group of people in a society. Now, group ideology is what metamorphoses into political ideology, because for a political party to have an ideology, there must be a group that would have articulated and aggregated such an ideology before it is brought to the open. It also has the potential of becoming a national ideology. Now, the next one is cultural ideology. Now, this is the type of ideology that varies from culture to culture. Now, cultural beliefs, okay, are not entirely the same everywhere. For instance, what is acceptable in one culture may be a taboo in another. Okay, so while it is not a taboo to dress almost half naked in a culture, such is abhorred in some other cultures. Under this, we have cultural variations, which are the differences we pointed out, which are the differences I've actually talked about. Okay, we can talk of the African culture, which is not exactly the same as the Western culture or the Asian culture. Again, within these cultures, there are variations which make them differ from community to community. There's also counterculture, where there is subculture within the culture, that their beliefs are quite antithetical to the belief of the broad culture. The North differs greatly in terms of cultural variations from the South in Nigeria, for example. Okay, so that is for that. Then the next one is religious ideology. Now, in the religious sense, ideologies are belief systems that are informed by the existence of an almighty, with a mediator that interfaces between man and God. One could talk of Christianity, Islamic religion, Judaism, etc. Within these religious groups, there are sects and subsets that their ideology could be more radical than the original ideology. Now, every religion has a totem. For example, in Christianity, there is Jesus Christ who mediates between God and man, and their totem is what? Is the crucifix. Now, in Islam, the mediator is the prophet, okay, and their totem is the moon and the star. So religious ideology is one that has a strong influence on individual because because once an individual is born, he finds himself in a religion, and it takes time before he can decide, or he can decide to jettison such religion. Okay, the next one is national ideology. National ideology. Now, every state has a national ideology. It is what the whole nation believes in and or does not believe in. It is a perception of the entire people of a nation, which is often controlled and propelled by the political class. Most times, the national ideology undergoes changes depending on the class of politicians in power. It is also safe to say that it is also safe to say that it can emanate from political ideology. Now, the class of politicians that form, that form a national government, come in with an ideology. Now, this ideology they come in with is the political ideology because it emerged from a political party. Once the government is formed, they will look for ways of embellishing the national ideology with a political ideology. In most cases, the political ideology overshadows the national ideology, such that before long, it may be difficult to differentiate the two. National ideology, therefore, is what a state is known for and identified with. For instance, the Western countries are known to have soft spots, for capitalism. The next one is political ideology. Political ideology. Now, political ideology, which is the focal, political ideology, is a set of ethical ideas about how a country should run, okay, or should be run. Now, political ideology is a coherent and consistent set of beliefs about who ought to rule, what principles rulers ought to obey, and what policies rulers ought to pursue. Now, whether people have a political ideology, can be measured in two ways. Now, number one is by seeing how frequently people speak in terms of a broad political issues, and number two, measuring the extent to which we can predict the person's view on one issue by knowing his or her view on another issue. Now, many political parties base, their political actions and programs on an ideology. Now, most often, political ideology ends up becoming the national ideology because once a party wins an election and forms government, their ideology becomes what will provide light for the whole nation. A political ideology is a certain ethical set of ideas, principles, doctrines, myths, or symbols of a social movement, institution, class, or large group that explains how society should work and offers some political and cultural blueprint for a certain social order. Now, political ideology largely concerns itself with how to allocate power and to what ends it should be used. Now, some parties follow a certain ideology, very closely, while others may take broad inspiration from a group of related ideologies without specifically embracing one of them. So, political ideology has two dimensions. Okay, these are goals, which is on how the society should work or be rearranged, and method, which border on the most appropriate ways, to achieve the ideal, arrangement. Now, political ideology, has many strands. Some of them are communism, feudalism, capitalism, socialism, communism, fascism, Nazism, liberalism, nationalism, conservatism, you know, and a whole lot of them. But what is important is that I have actually talked about, the types of ideologies that we have, okay, in every society, So our attention in the next video is going to be based on the strands of political ideology. We'll be talking about communism, you know, communism, feudalism, capitalism, socialism, and a whole lot of them. Okay, so thank you very much.